This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
A lot of people say this, that there are no coincidences. Things happen for a reason. And there's others that believe, no, that's the way it is. It just, that just happened. I believe that there's a reason for everything. I do believe this gentleman feels the same way from hearing his story, which started years ago with a couple of bucks literally in his pocket. And that grew to a wonderful thing called the Kava Bar and Wellness Center in California. Actually started in Florida. He's got 2 locations in California presently. And we're going to learn more about his journey. Avi Weber is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
Loving your journey. I look forward every time we get together because it's for anybody that thinks I can never do whatever it is that you have an aspiration for, you have a dream for, you prove it wrong with people just showing up in your life that support you in an interesting kind of way. It's like from right down to before we got on here, we were talking about the murals in the Kava Bar. By the way, Kava is a type of tea. For anybody that doesn't know,
Right. Like
spiritual
massage.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the woman that does the artwork, the murals in the Kava Bar, you were telling me you met her years ago, and she just walked in from a storm one day.
Yeah, there was a crazy rainstorm happening, South Florida, Hollywood, Florida. And she just came in as a customer, coming in to get out of the rain, I guess. And ever since then, she's been painting for me, not necessarily for me, like she paints on her own, but like if I want a mural painted, I hire her, she comes in, tell her what I'm looking for. She's channeling something and she paints away. So every mural in the Kava Bar since 2010, all of them were done by her. She paints the tree for me. Like I make the tree branches. She comes in and paints the trees, but she does soul paintings for people, all kinds of different things. And that's really just kind of how it's been since I opened the doors. Whatever is necessary, just kind of like drops in on the doorstep. And strange, I had another friend, Shabazz, the gentleman that I told you in a previous talk, that he tells me to call the bank and ask for a loan. My buddy Shabazz, he was going to help invest in the opening, but he had to move for work. So that's why I called the bank and got the loan. But then one day, probably like 2012-ish, 2013, it's like kind of when my sisters attempted to take what I shared with them from me, that whole drama thing that took place. He just sends me a text message out of the blue. When you're walking through hell, keep walking. Some famous person said that. I don't remember who it was. That was his text message. That's all it said. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. If you're walking in hell, you should probably not take a rest. But right around the same time, my sister's taken me to court for the whole nonsense with the business and saying that I was unfair in some of my pricing. And a distributor for another major company that is involved in Kava stops by my place and, wants me to try their Kava and possibly sell their Kava. The manager that I had at the time was just kind of like rude, and like Avi would never, he's got his Kava, he would never, get from anybody else and blah, blah, blah. And just kind of like shot the lady down type of thing. And then when I found out about that, I called the lady. I'm like, hey, I don't know what that was about, but, send me some samples, send me your price list, And part of me wanted the price list because as how big they were already in the world, right? Their price list, in my mind, set an industry standard. And their pricing was right on par with what my pricing was. And I wanted to use that in the courtroom with my sister. Listen, this is an industry standard price, you know. So the lady's like, okay, you know, so she sends me a box of some of their Kava, the price list, but in it was a book written by the founder of the company. So I start reading the book, and maybe like a chapter, 2 chapters in, I read, "When you're walking through hell, keep walking." Winston Churchill.
Mm.
And I could feel every cell in my body at that point vibrating. And I knew to connect with them with the Kava. And then so I called the lady on the phone. I'm like, listen, I'd really like to meet the owner of the company. He sent his CEO down, spent 2 or 3 hours talking about Kava. And then this magical thing, which crashed and burned because of what happened with my sisters. But the Kava source is still there, you know, still working on it. But these just show up like out of the blue. Here's this person just sends you this dumb little message, you know, but that dumb little message came. If I never picked up that book, Mystic Water might not still be in business. Like there are things that happened inside of all of that stuff. But so I was given a check to show that they were interested in partnering with me. And that's the most amount of money I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? You know? And I just lay down on the bed. And this voice again, this put the money in the bank, put it in the bank as a CD, and draw a line of credit off of it. And then I remember this guy, Dale Trusty, that is the guy that introduced me to Think and Grow Rich, told me never, ever, ever spend your investors' money. Ever. You put that money in the bank, that becomes the cushion, the capital, the overhead, just in case there's an emergency. But you want to be able to give your investor their money back when they ask for it. And so I go to the bank the next day and I'm like, hey, you know, and the guy at the bank is like, yes, that's exactly what you do. You know, if you can do that with millions of dollars, you know, you're living, you're right. However that works, it makes sense. But that's what I did, right? But when I closed my 3 stores because of the drama, the bank, because the line of credit was to the business, the bank said, we're shutting down your line of credit because it's attached to the business and you just closed some of your stores. And they took my CD, right?
What?
They took all because I had a line of credit on it. So instead of allowing me to pay off on this line of credit, they closed the account, cashed in my CD, and zeroed out my balance.
That isn't
With,
that your money that you earned from the money you put in the bank?
but I put it in as a CD and I drew a line of credit off of it. And because I had a line of credit now tied to this CD and the business closed, the bank said, hey, we're shutting your line of credit. And they took all of the money that I had in my bank account, or they took all of the money from the CD. They zeroed out the CD, took their money, and left me with $4,000. And that's how I ended up sleeping in my car after I closed San Diego for a little while. Like, what was I going to do? I was living in my car. That was the last $4,000 to my name. And I used that for first, last, and security to open Huntington Beach. Right. So there's always somebody, you know, like there's that biblical thing where you're walking in the sand, you know, and then there's 2 footprints next to you, and then all of a sudden there's only 1 footprint, and you know that's God carrying you, that whole thing. There's always somebody with you, listening, like helping, like you may not see it, but that it's there. Like there's no way these
Hmm.
things happen. You know, like I was saying, just this weekend, talking to uh, a friend of a friend. They're at the Kava bar, you know, this guy Adele, really big out there in the new technologies coming for medicine, healing, and all of this stuff. Um, and we're talking about the Think and Grow Rich and MAPS, Medical Assistance Program, which is it's a medical book that helps you tap into something to help heal yourself. And then The Ancient Secret to the Flower of Life, which was the book that I was guided to in the bookstore back in 2003. Well, 2008, I would say. No, well, somewhere around there, right? Long time ago. And after we're done this podcast, I have a phone conversation with the author of that book, Drunvalo Melchizedek. I've been waiting to talk to that guy about the weird stuff that happened around that book since that book fell in my lap, and I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, you know, doing a shot of Kava before I start,
I'm so
and
jealous.
you should let me send you some, and we should have some during our next episode.
Oh, yes. I am so on board. And honestly, I started drinking tea about not kava.
Right.
Never had it, but I still drink occasional coffee, but my first go-to in the morning is now tea. And when I was a kid, I used to look at, like my grandmother, old people drink tea. I'm not drinking tea. Now I love it. All different types I'll try, and that would be interesting to,
Different kind of tea, but yeah,
yes,
you
yes.
know, if, just reach out, send me an email, and I'll mail it to you. Make sure you get it before our next.
I appreciate that.
It'll be fun. You know,
Yes. Um, all these things that happen along the way, right down to being left with $4,000. And you use that to open Huntington Beach. Around what year was that?
2016.
Okay. All those things that happen, right? They took your money out of the bank. You had that CD, the line of credit going on. Did you always feel that it's going to work out? Like deep down inside, did you always feel that it's not going to be comfortable, but it's going to be all right. We're going to be okay here.
It takes convincing. It really does. It takes a convincing,
But does that
like
mean it takes convincing every single time? Or maybe back in the day when, you were down to $8 and then things turned around and then moved in your favor and, you got over that hurdle. Now the next hurdle. Now the next hurdle.
I think it's what some call like the flow state,
Okay.
but you can be in the flow or you can be, you know, getting pulled a little bit down the river because you're sitting on the outside of it, like the current just kind of takes you. And I think that I sit more of where the current pulls me down the river, like a leaf in the wind.
Yeah.
I'm just open to what is coming. But the worrying about, I just, from everything that I've been shown, the second you start having those thoughts, you better stop having, and did I always think it was going to work out? I don't think I ever really thought about it working out or not. It's just keep doing what you're doing. Like there's the whole, inside of Buddha, practice, 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 do, and then you're just be, right? If you're practicing it, you're doing it. And if you're doing it, you're already it, and I just kept constantly reminding myself to sit in that space as much as
Mm.
possible. Am I mastered? Like, and then it's not even close. I just have for myself an understanding of what it is. But to be honest, like I know that if I do certain practices, powerful stuff out doesn't do I sit down and do those practices every day? No, like I'm not any different than anybody else. I just caught wind of something, and because I recognized how powerful all of that stuff is, like my business keeps me on that path. because if I'm not that in the world, then I'm just pretending behind the bar. And that destroys the integrity of Mystic Water. And so the the business, the concept, it's like I don't even own anything. I rent the property. I own the furniture and a refrigerator. I've been surviving since 2009 on an idea. It's a concept. One plant is keeping me, I take care of my kid. My bills are paid, like one plant. That's all I serve. And so there's this integrity to that. There's an honor about that I just knew to stay true to, and then all of these different things just showing up. Like if it wasn't for Mystic Water, I wouldn't have been able to go to 4 of Dr. Joe Dispenza's retreats to really tap in and understand a lot. Like I spent 15 days on Easter Island with one of the top physicists in the world, probably Nassim Haramein, and he gave me a piece of information. He said something years ago that transformed my life. I applied that stuff into my being. And then on Easter Island, he's like, yeah, I misspoke. So for like 10 years, this concept that like all of a sudden he gives me one little nugget that adds a component to what I put together already. It wasn't necessarily that he misspoke, that it ruined what I understood. It added the layer, positive and negative, right? Positive and negative, but we don't really talk about neutral. And that's what I learned on Easter Island. Energy, positive, negative, neutral. You need the neutral. And the neutral is bringing the positive and negative aspect of yourself to balance, masculine and feminine, however you want to look at it. But it's in the neutral where the magic happens, from what I have experienced.
Do you feel that, now you gave the river analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that you just keep going down the river? Because if you try to buck the system, swim against the current, grab a log, a rock, you're still going to have to go down the river anyway. Call it a lesson in life that you might need to learn. So just keep going. Just keep going down that river.
What else are you going to, you're here, you're going to do something. Is it easy to get up every day? And no, it's not. Do you want to? No, but you're going to, and so it's more of like why are you doing what you're doing? Some people say that it's the why. What's your why? And sometimes we lose sight of the why. We don't have one. So we feel like we stagnate because we're not moving towards something.
What's your why?
That's a good question in this moment in time. My why right now is I think that there are these new technologies coming inside of the medicine world, and I want to be a part of sharing that to the world. And again, crazy as it is, in 2009, December 2009, I'll never forget, this old guy comes into the Kava bar, right? And he sits down in front of me and he puts a yellow crystal on his forehead and he starts going, he's like, wow, on a scale of 1 to 10, your energy is like a 9.7 or something like that. He's like, keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, but that was weird for me back then. What the hell is all that? The crystal on your forehead, and so it made me uncomfortable. And I used to smoke cigarettes back then. And so the only way out from behind the bar was to go smoke a cigarette. So I walk out the door, I grab the cigarettes. I'm getting ready to walk behind the bar, and he sticks that crystal to his forehead again. He's like, and he's like, wow, if you smoke that cigarette, your energy's going to go from a 9.7 to a 9.3. And real fast in my mind, I'm like, okay, I smoke a pack and a half maybe every 2 days. My energy's at like a 9.7. Cigarette's going to take me to a 9.3. Most people are probably at a 5 or a 6.
I'll light
I'm
up.
good. And I'm walking around the bar and he's like, did you ever think of quitting? And I was like, who hasn't? What did you have in mind? And this guy says, I have this light therapy machine in my car. It's one of 5 in the country. All you have to do is sit in this bar stool, hold an unlit cigarette in your mouth for 15 minutes. I said, go get your machine. I said, really? Like, yeah, go get your machine. So he goes outside. I'm sitting in this bar stool, holding the cigarette in my mouth. My friends and every customers are making fun of me, like, what the hell are you doing? And this guy comes in and it's this little black box, wafer thin, skinny tripod legs, sets it up, points it at my forehead for 10 minutes, pointed it at my left earlobe for 4 minutes. I have not craved or smoked a cigarette since. I go to the bar 2 weeks later for my friend's birthday. There's a cigarette burning in an ashtray. I said, I just want to see, And I picked that thing up and I pulled on it and coughed like I never smoked a cigarette in my life. And then there was this other gentleman, Dr. Emoto. He does the miracle of water, if you're familiar, where the guy's freezing water crystals.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So during that, so I do that with a lot of the kava when I make the kava. No 5 most positive words I could think of. You go under the bucket because of Dr. Emoto's work. And then I brought the ceremony of kava to your table because now it becomes this tea ceremony, right? So your intention is imprinting into the water, right? The water retains memory. I believe MIT or Stanford made a computer using water droplets instead of, right? So the water retains the memory, right? So when you do a tea ceremony with somebody, whoever's preparing that tea, their intention is printing into the water. You drink it, you're 90 something percent water. That intention assimilates through you. So I brought that to the table. Now the customers make their kava themselves at the table because now science has proved the tea ceremony.
Did you change the way it's done there because of this situation?
I really kind of brought it forward because now science proves the woo-woo of that.
But
And
my point with the question is that your guests make their own as opposed to you preparing it for them and bringing it to them.
correct, right.
Was that based on what we're talking about? Did you change it? Did you change it up?
I changed it. That allowed me to feel comfortable doing it.
Okay, gotcha.
But I had to change it.
Did you
I had to
change it
make
to allow people to make their own because they're imprinting it in the way they want to?
that's most part of it. 100, yeah. Because now instead of my intention and printing into 6 gallons of kava, now you can sit down at the table with your friends and have your own little, it's just fun. It's fun, but it's for real. It's real fun.
Do you instruct people to set an intention when they're mixing?
Sometimes it depends on the customer. Some people, I can just tell, like, I don't want to turn off customers.
Sure.
Sometimes it gets a little,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
But
give them
for the most part,
a lot of credit. They're already drinking kava, so they're already steps
correct.
ahead.
Right. But for the most part, everybody, they love it. They go to different places and they like that they get to make their own kava. So,
Wow.
and then I watch it.
We're out of time. Your story just gets better and better. And enjoy that conversation with that author that you got coming up today.
Yes.
So exciting.
Yes. And then send me an address that I can mail the kava to.
We're gonna have a great conversation. We always do, but
yeah. Right. I'll send you enough that you can drink some over before, and then if you want.
Oh, I'd love to.
That way you already know what it is before we actually sit down.
100%, and actually be able to describe it and everything involved. What's your website, by the way, Avi?
mysticwaterkavabar.com.
Fantastic talking with you, as always. And it backs up my belief that there are no coincidences. Things are we're being guided, and
right, and that's what I meant when I said earlier. Like, you're never alone. You're never alone, no matter what it is you're going through, no matter where you are. Like, you can quiet down and You'll talk to somebody, but that, whether it's your higher self or whatever you want to call it, whether you're talking to yourself, like they'll answer you, whatever that is. And
I
there's a
agree.
weird comforting in that,
Oh, I
you know?
agree with you. And I'm a firm believer. If you need validation, if you need something to give you strength, ask for a sign. Ask for a
Mhm.
specific sign. And most times I've
Right.
done it, I've gotten them.
And then you had to ask, well, who sent the sign?
Well, I kind of know in my world.
Correct. But that's where that you start to recognize that that is actually really happening. And the
Oh,
more
yeah.
you recognize that that is really happening, when the poop hits the fan, it the blow is lessened because you start knowing that it doesn't matter.
It
You
doesn't
got to
matter.
take the medicine. That's the school of hard knocks. You got to take your medicine on the chin. You may not have deserved what just happened to you by who just delivered the blow. But if you honestly sit long enough, wow, I deserved that. I may not have deserved it from this person, but I deserved it. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in a previous lifetime, but I can't reap what I didn't sow,
Mm.
right? Cause and effect, right? So if you accept that and you respond higher in consciousness, you just cleared your karmic plate, right? If if you slap me in the face and I slap you back, it just keeps the cycle going, right? But like, you're the hand of God, right? I call it the Buddha slap, that karmic retribution, whether it's good or bad, but somebody has to deliver the karma. And I chose, learning through the stuff that happened with my sisters and everything, that I am not going to deliver the karma. And the more I don't retaliate, the more I just respond and just keep going and focusing on what I want, where I want to go. Those blows just, thank you very next. They just go away
Hmm.
because you didn't add to the fire.
You didn't react to it.
That's stoicism. What I learned through stoicism, like that stoic isn't because they don't care. They stay stoic because they love you so much, and you came in and you're going through this storm, and I love you, and because I love you, I am not going to add fuel to your fire, and I'm just going to sit here calm and compose
Yep.
because I care about you. Why fuel the fire? And you start to learn that, even customers that come in that you don't like. It's a very interesting.
I get it. It's almost like, I see, somebody in a fight, prize fighter, right? And then one delivers a blow and the other one could hammer back right away. But it's like, no, let me just observe. I don't
Right,
have to do it right away.
right.
Um,
Yeah, it's a dance.
it's a dance. Wow. Fantastic talking with you. By the way, you mentioned past life. I had my first past life regression a few days
Oh,
ago.
cool. Good for you.
Whoa,
It's strange, right? It's weird.
dude. I tried to separate, am I just imagining this or is this real? But, the facilitator, she said, you're feeling the emotion as if it's real.
Right.
It must be real.
Hmm.
Like just crying, situation that was happening and wild.
Right. Right. And then, and somewhere there's really no way to know there, but you had the emotion that, right. You had those feelings, right? So you had an experience, whether that's real or not. I don't, you had the
I
experience.
had the experience
And that
and
experience is opening up a different doorway now. Holy, what was that? Right.
yeah.
But now, so you went back. This is the magic that I've learned with how you're making things happen, right? So you went backwards in time and you had these emotions and feelings about something that happened in your past that you don't know. It's a fantasy, right? Can you do that with your future? Go into your future
All right, we're out of time. We're gonna press the pause
yeah.
button, and on Kava next time we're gonna hit that.
Right. Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right, Avi, thank you so much for today, as always, and enjoy that phone call. Good luck with
Hey,
it.
have a good. Thank you. Talk. Bye.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.